I flew all the way to Austin, Texas to meet with the pound-for-pound GOAT of jiu-jitsu. It's Gordon Ryan on this week's Food Truck Diaries. I'm feeding them CM Smokehouse Barbecue, and your boy's cooking. Let's go. The king is in the building, Mr. Gordon Ryan. How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you guys?
How you doing, man?
Can't complain. I can't complain.
God, you look good, dude. It's the Austin air, I think.
I'm trying. Just trying to get through these last 2 weeks of camp, and then we'll be home free from there.
How you feeling? Obviously, you've been pretty transparent about your stomach issues, stuff like that. Not only are you competing, at the highest level in jiu-jitsu and doing it, the best ever do it. I feel comfortable saying that. The best ever do it.
I think so. Now,
yeah.
at least.
Yeah. I think anybody who says otherwise is an idiot. But, so you're competing not only against the top jiu-jitsu guys in the world, but you're also competing against yourself with your body.
Yeah.
Your body. So you got to deal with both those things,
Yeah, I feel a lot better now for sure. My stomach, I talked about it a million times. My stomach got so bad I wasn't even able to, not even train, but just like function as a normal human being. Like the first time I did Rogan, I was so nauseous. I have like no recollection of what we even talked about because I was just like, come on, man, hold it together.
I remember watching him being like, God, he drinks a lot of water because you're just sipping water.
I was sipping water because I was about to throw up. I'm like, come on, I'm like, push it down. It's like every time I'd stop talking, I'd have to just like sip water. And then finally, like we're like 2.5 hours in, and I'm like, oh, it subsided. And then like Rogan's like, all right, man, thanks so much.
Yeah,
we're done.
And you don't want to hit up Rogan the night before because I think that was your first time doing JRE. You don't want to hit him up like, hey, man, my stomach hurts. I'm not going to make it.
Well, that's the thing.
But they don't realize when you say your stomach hurts, it's not like me where it's whatever. I have like a tummy ache.
Yeah.
Like, your shit is serious.
So it was like I hadn't really met him before that, and we never hung out. And I was living in Puerto Rico at the time. I was actually looking for houses in Austin because if you talk to Rogan for more than a half hour, you have to move to Austin. That's like a rule.
Yes. That's why I hang up at 28 minutes in, dude.
So then, it was like the first time we ever really hung out, and I was on the podcast. And I'm like, man, I cannot tell Joe Rogan that I can't do his podcast because I have a bellyache. I'm like, I gotta just power through it.
Hilarious.
But
I can't make it, man. Stomach hurts. Yeah.
But I've been on this treatment now with this guy, Dr. Rabar, actually in LA. And it's like 85% better now, so it's a lot better than it was, and I can at least manage it for competition, so I'm happy.
Yeah, that's why, when we decided to do the food truck, I was like, man, because I have to be careful what I eat because I have psoriasis. It just flared up. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's autoimmune disease, so I can't eat certain things now, too. So with the picking the food trucks is dicey. And then I was just selfishly thinking to myself, and then it hit me literally 3 days ago, like, oh, well, what the fuck's going on to eat? Oh, what are we going to do, man? Just the worst food truck ever. We can't eat?
Yeah.
No one can eat? You're eating carrots? I'm eating like a fucking lettuce?
I'm confident enough to eat food truck stuff now, but I'm not confident enough to do it during an interview.
Smart.
Because if I'm eating it, I'm like, oh, man, I'm getting a little nauseous, and then I kind of just snowball. Then you get anxiety because you're trying to talk on camera,
man.
and I'm like, oh, man. So I'm actually fasted all day just for this, and then I'm going to just pig out after this.
Oh, dude, you're the best, brother. You're the best. Well, hopefully it's not too bad. It's actually freezing in Austin.
Yes.
For those watching this right now, I'm an LA kid. I guess you're used to the cold in New Jersey, right?
Jersey, New York,
It's a little windy, a little cold out here. So we're going to take it inside, brother, and finish this inside. And then we're also going to order food that hopefully doesn't flare up my spots and flare up your stomach. We're getting older, man. We're just getting older.
I know,
Let's do it, brother. Brother?
Good. How y'all doing today?
Appreciate you doing this, man.
Yeah, for sure.
You got a great setup here. We both have issues. His worse than mine. I'll take my spots.
I'm feeling confident now, to be honest. So I'm gonna go off the rocker today.
Bro, if this goes south, don't be mad at me, dude. I'm not encouraging this. I'll do your Wagyu burger.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
for you, man.
And can I just have the regular cheeseburger with just mayonnaise and lettuce and French fries?
Oh, you going fries?
Yeah. And can I have it medium well? Also?
Yeah,
Dude.
I got you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect,
Sure.
brother. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for doing this, man.
For sure. I'll bring it out to you.
Fingers crossed.
Thank you. Yeah, fingers super crossed, man.
Came in as an underdog, but now I'm on my way. Stayed up every single night and hustled every day. I've been going so hard. Now I'm on my way. Like, oh my God.
All right, my man. Got your cheese. When's the last time you had a cheeseburger?
I've been feeling pretty good lately. It's probably been about a week. But,
Okay.
But there was like a 4-year period where I couldn't eat cheeseburgers at all.
So now you're just...
I'm trying to make up for it now that my stomach's feeling okay.
Man, I'm so nervous. It makes you sick. It won't, though, man. Now, the big news came out with Flow Sports.
Yeah.
That you signed the first ever for jiu-jitsu 7-figure deal. I mean, that's historic in jiu-jitsu, man. You're kind of, you're the chosen one to carry this sport into mainstream.
Yeah. So it's a 1-year, non-exclusive, 7-figure deal for them, and I think that doing big deals like this and making them public, I think, helps obviously bring a lot of eyes to the sport, helps everyone get paid, and it's just good overall for us. For the longest time, there just wasn't the ability for anyone to make any money through jiu-jitsu unless they started fighting or unless they owned schools, or they just spent all year teaching seminars. But now we have at least one guy in the sport who can make, like, I guess, real athlete money.
That's all you need, because then you open up the gates.
Just competing.
Yeah.
So,
now you got to be at a certain level to, you obviously earned it, but I think, for the naysayers, the haters out there, it's like, oh, you don't realize this. Him getting the 7-figure deal helps all you guys. Like, we need this for the sport to grow, and it's, you just have to be the guy who has the personality, has the look, and obviously clearly has the skill set where you're drawing attention from not just kind of this niche jiu-jitsu community. You're drawing attention from, the casual fan, But you need guys like you. Yeah, and it's rare they come around, but you're the guy, and heavy lies the crown. That's a lot of pressure, I'm sure.
yeah, we need jiu-jitsu to bridge the gap from being a participant sport, where most people who watch jiu-jitsu also participate in jiu-jitsu, to a spectator sport, where
Correct.
most people who watch jiu-jitsu don't do jiu-jitsu, or a lot of people don't do jiu-jitsu. Like, most people who watch the UFC aren't showing up the next day to get punched in the head by their buddies.
No. Yeah.
So we need a lot more people who don't do jiu-jitsu, who are watching it just because they're a fan of the sport or they're a fan of one of the athletes. So
I think it's, and clear, with how dominant you are, people love a winner no matter what it is. Tiger Woods, look at what he did for golf. Golf was dead for how many years? And then Tiger comes around, he's just dominating, and he has a certain look, and he's electric, and they gravitated more of the general fans over. So you're kind of like the Tiger Woods of jiu-jitsu.
you need the Tiger Woods, the Tony Hawks, you need the Michael Jordans. Like, you need
Tony
at
Hawk's
least-
a better example.
Yeah, like you need at least the one guy in the sport that's going to transcend and push the sport further than the athlete goes further than what the sport is supposed to be.
And I think the biggest thing, not the problem, is just, it takes time, is educating the fan base. Like, the general, consumer of mixed martial arts, when the fight goes to the ground, like, oh, come on, get back to the feet, rip his hat off. It's like, no. It's actually really cool what they're doing down there. So it's just educating the people of this chess match and the high level of grappling.
Well, that's the thing is, you're never going to have as high of a ceiling with jiu-jitsu or grappling arts as you will with striking arts, because someone gets punched in the face, it's easy to understand.
We can all understand
Yeah.
that.
So like jiu-jitsu is never going to be as big as, MMA. It won't even be in the same ballpark.
You don't need it to be.
But you don't need it to be.
No.
'Cause that's the thing. You just need it big enough where you can make real money as an athlete, and there's so many people involved in the sport where if you do teach a seminar, you can charge a lot of money. If you do make it instructional, a lot of people are going to buy it.
Correct.
And there's a lot more ways to generate money in jiu-jitsu than there is in MMA. Like, if you're a fighter in MMA, you basically just fight, and then maybe do appearances here and there.
If you're an outlier, you have like some big endorsements, we got to be a real outlier.
Yeah. But jiu-jitsu, you can make money even after you retire because you can teach. Like, there's not really a big market for teaching MMA because most casual fans don't want to get punched in the face.
And they
It's
don't
hard.
want their kids getting punched in the
Yeah.
face. Yeah.
But jiu-jitsu, like, if I compete until I'm 40, I can continue teaching for the rest of my life, and then that even after my competitive career, I can still generate revenue.
Yeah, lifelong journeyman.
Yeah. So, it's definitely different, and it takes longer to make money, and you don't make as much money in your prime as an athlete as a high-level MMA fighter, but you can generate money for a lot longer.
Yes, over a long period of time. But also, it's like if the UFC, who's the catalyst of kind of mixed martial arts, they're basically they're the Kleenex of tissue paper, right? When people go, oh, do you do UFC? That's how big the sport is, right? So especially the UFC, if they would just put the same promotional kind of assets into you or these high-level jiu-jitsu players instead of the slap fight league.
I was just gonna say I'm trying to get the slap fight promotion.
That's what we need. That slap fight, the same vibes the slap fight gets into what you're doing.
The slap fight, and then when I was talking to the Fight Pass guys, they're like, well, what do you want? I'm like, man, I want the same kind of marketing that gets Patty Pimblett 2 million Instagram followers. Every week he gets it deleted. He gets his Instagram deleted for saying something, and then that next week he has 2 million followers. The next week he has 3 million followers. And then he gets it deleted again. I'm like, that's the kind of marketing I want.
Yeah.
Like, you guys gotta bump my shadow ban up.
Don't get me started. But with it's like, I think that's one of the reasons I'm triggered by the slap fight league. And I'm not knocking the guys that do that. Like, God bless you. You know, them doing that is insane. I would never fucking do that. But, you know, they're putting their brains on the line there, and it's kind of this shock factor. But the reason I'm triggered by it is because I know guys like you, and I've been in the jiu-jitsu scene for a while, and I've seen MMA fighters around like, oh, if you guys would just focus on there's so many great stories out there. Good people have worked years and years and years to get this kind of spotlight on them. Like, do that, man. Don't look for the quick buck.
It's crazy. A lot of the slap fight guys, I met them at the PI, and a lot of them do jiu-jitsu. And I met like both teams, and like, oh man, what's up, Gordon? And I was like, hey guys, like I didn't know how you know me, but they're like, oh man, like I'm a purple belt, I did jiu-jitsu. So I met those guys. They're cool, and I saw a lot of like behind the scenes stuff with them filming, and it's definitely interesting for sure. But if jiu-jitsu can get that kind of marketing,
that's all we need.
The UFC invest like heavily into grappling, which I think they are now, thankfully. That'll just completely change the sport overnight.
What's up, fam? Let's take a little break from chatting with the GOAT of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm back in Calabasas now, but I had a great time in Austin chatting with my straight-up boy now. We're talking about Gordon Ryan. And listen, if you want to look like Gordon Ryan, you need to get your meal plan right. You need to eat right. This new year, you've got goals. Maybe they're not the same as Gordon Ryan, but you got some pretty high goals you want to set for yourself. And my friends at Factor are here to help you achieve each and every single goal that you have. Fuel up fast with ready-to-eat nutritious meals delivered straight to your door, leaving you time and energy to tackle everything on your to-do list, like in better jiu-jitsu. All right, achieve and maintain your 2023 goals with Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit, and start saving time, eating well, and living your best year yet. Too busy to cook? Say less. Factor, go ahead and skip the trip to the grocery store and skip the chopping, prepping, cleaning. All right. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 freaking minutes. All you have to do, heat up, enjoy. It takes all the guesswork out, no matter what your lifestyle. Factor has delicious, flavored packed meals to help you live a fullest diet, that whatever you're on, whether it's keto, calorie smart, vegan, veggie, protein plus, what your thick friend does here because I have psoriasis. All right. With 34 chef-prepared, dietitian-approved weekly options, there's something always new to try out. Want to cut back on takeout? Get Factor instead. Not only is Factor cheaper than takeout, but meals are ready faster than restaurant delivery in just 2 freaking minutes. All right? So get Factor. Enjoy clean eating without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered right to your door, ready in just 2 minutes. No prep, no mess. Head to factormeals.com/Schaub50, that's SCHAUB50. Use the code Schaub50 to get 50% off your first box. That's code Schaub50 at Factor Meals, FACTOR meals.com/Schaub50 to get 50% off your first box. Factor. Agree. And you have the athletes, you have the personalities, you have the drama, there's the storylines there. It makes so much sense to me. Then they got to do it. When you talk about being in Vegas, being at the UFC, was it the API? Is that what they call it? Is it Apex?
The Apex.
The Apex.
The PI.
I was shooting a commercial for Rain with Thor, Big Thor from Game of Thrones,
Mm-hmm.
And he comes back, and this just shows, it's like this is a, casual fan or whatever, and obviously he knows who you are. And we're sitting down, and he's like, oh, you know who I rolled with yesterday? I'm like, who? He's like, Gordon Ryan. I was like, how'd that go? And he's like, man, and he was baffled. This is just, and it's not his fault. It's just ignorance is bliss. He's like, man, I thought I would be able to control him and hold him down. I'm like, Gordon Ryan, Thor, and he's my boy. And I was like, you thought you were gonna do well? He's like, yeah, I'm so much bigger, and I just feel like I get underneath him to hold him down. I'm like, that's insane, dude. I started laughing. He's like, why are you laughing? I'm like, I'm laughing. Dude, I can't believe you thought you were gonna do well. He was like, that's messed up. I'm like, no, it's not. That'd be like playing Jordan one-on-one. Like, dude, I can't believe I didn't get a shot off. It's like, really? It's just he doesn't know.
We were drilling side control escapes with him and Martin. So I'm like, well, what do you guys want to do? So like, okay, they're like, we're just gonna leave it up to you. I'm like, all right, well, do you want to see like cool stuff, or do you want to see stuff that like, will actually help you get better at jiu-jitsu? They're like, we want to get better. I'm like, okay, well, number one issue heavyweights have is bottom position.
Yes.
So I'm like, let's do some, and then Martin's used to wrestle, so I'm like, let's do some side control escapes into some wrestling techniques where you punch an underhook in, you come up on single legs, move the tight waist, stuff like that. So like, okay. So I start showing the moves, and instantly, the second they start drilling together, it just turns into a full roll.
Yeah.
So I'm like, guys, so Martin's it goes to the side control. He has like full inside position. He's just squeezing him as hard as he can. Thor can't move at all. I'm like, this is never gonna work, like unless you like let him do it. Do it. Like this is just one move.
We're drilling.
So we go through. Like, yeah, we want to do like an hour class. It's like 10 minutes goes by. They're both exhausted because it turns into a full roll. Then the camera guy's like, we want to see you roll. So I'm like, oh man. So I look around because I have to compete the next day. So this is something that is worth mentioning because like in less than 24 hours I have to compete. So I look around and I'm looking for John because I know if John sees me rolling with these two guys, he's gonna freak out. So I'm like looking around the room for John, and I see he's like over in the corner, like doing toes to bar, or like lifting weights or something on the other side. So I'm like, all right, let's do it quick. So like I let Thor start in side control, like full inside position. He's got everything, like my arm shelved. I'm like, all right, go. And so like I escape, I sweep him, and then like end up submitting him. And he's like, man. He's like, I don't know what just happened. So then like Martin's goes, and Martin's like a lot more compact than Thor.
Yeah, he's built like a fire hydrant. He's like built like a baby rhino.
He's got like some instincts because he used to wrestle, whereas Thor never really grappled. So Martin's like locks into side control. I'm like, oh man, this is gonna be worse. So I escape Martin's side control. We start wrestling, and he's like freaking out. I have him in like all good positions. He's just like ragdolling me around the mat. And then like 30 seconds later, he gets so tired. He's like, oh, man, I'm done. And I'm like, that was it? So then like we did a couple more rounds, and then Martins and Thor wrestled. And then Big Dan from our team wrestled those guys, and we kind of made a little YouTube video out of it. But
I think it's a great video. I think it's good for people to see that because I think guys see like Thor's mad. Listen, I've been around big guys. When I saw Thor for this time, like, oh, that's the biggest human I've ever seen. Like, you're so big, dude. It's out of control.
This is good because when I meet like a regular person who people are like, oh man, if the guy was just way bigger, it would never work. Now I can say I literally grappled the strongest person on the planet.
100%.
And I promise you jiu-jitsu works.
Yeah, it definitely works. That's why it was designed for, right? So, yeah, with Thor, I just couldn't believe how he could easily maneuver me and flip me. I'm like, really? I couldn't stop laughing. He wasn't taking it to heart. He was just like, I can't. He's like, why are you laughing? I'm like, I'm just baffled. You thought it was gonna go well, Thor. Like, that's insane to me. But he was a good sport about it. He's a good dude. So for you, like, I'm sure you've thought about, like, obviously the legacy. You're doing the damn thing. The most accomplished no-gi grappler of all time. You just signed this big seven-figure deal with Flow Sports. It's like, and you're 27, so it's like, do you see kind of like how long you can do this? Like, what's the goal here?
Yeah.
You're gonna wait till you're just the face of all of it?
So it depends on three things. Number one, obviously I have to stay healthy. So as long as I'm healthy, which I somehow just can never be completely healthy with my stomach, but as long as my stomach is manageable. And I have John as my coach. I won't compete without John as my coach because I feel like that makes such a big difference. And also Sunny runs my diet. She runs my workout. She runs everything for me on that end. So if I have Sunny around, if I have John around, and if I'm healthy, I plan to compete until I'm 40 because that's about when you peak in terms of isometric strength, but still maintain good amounts of cardio. And jiu-jitsu athletes peak a lot later because of the fact that most sports like wrestling, MMA, boxing, they're all sports based on explosion, whereas grappling, jiu-jitsu, is built around isometric tension.
Yeah.
So you don't need that explosivity that you do in the other sports. So you peak a lot later. So you see like someone like Andre, it's my belief that Andre was the best Andre in 2019 ADCC.
You talking about Galvell?
Yeah. He was almost as good when he fought me, but he wasn't as good as when he fought Felipe, I don't think.
Interesting.
And he was 40 when he fought me. So I think Andre's peak was his 38. I mean, he was bigger than ever. His cardio was better than ever. He was more technical than ever. He had that many more years of technical development. So it's my belief that you peak between 35 and 40 in grappling.
That's
so
interesting.
if I can compete until I'm 35, 40, I'll be happy. And one of the things I want to do, which is like almost impossible.
If you tell me MMA, I'm gonna freak out.
No. So Buchecha is the most decorated competitor of all time in terms of medals. He's 14 IBJJF Nogi or IBJJF world titles.
Love Boucher.
Yeah, he's awesome. But the Worlds is every year. So what I want to do is basically impossible, but I want to try it anyways. If I double gold in ADCC every year until I'm 40, I'll have more ADCC medals than he has world titles.
Oh wow.
So
Quite the goal.
it'll be almost impossible because ADCC is almost every 2 years.
Yeah.
So like every year, if you do Worlds, you double gold, and so every other year, you can double gold at ADCC. So it takes twice as long. But I'll have I think I'll have 15 medals. I did the math one time. If I double gold every year until I'm 40, I'll have 15 medals.
That's insane.
So if I can do that, then I'll be like, okay.
Then you'll be happy. Then
I'm
you're
done.
good at 40. Yeah. Then. The one thing I never want to hear, and there was rumors about it because when you signed with One Championship, you did the grappling match there. But when they told me you're going to MMA, I don't like that. Because I think you're the guy who can do this. The reason why high-level jiu-jitsu guys go to MMA because they're not making the money that they need to in jiu-jitsu. You are, and MMA, it's like just like anything. It's like it takes years to. Now you're grappling at such a high level, you can do it, and the striking, you can figure out to make sure you're safe. But it's like no, just keep being the Michael Jordan of jiu-jitsu. Because it makes the sport look bad, I think. It makes jiu-jitsu look bad when these guys jump out of it and go to MMA.
Yeah.
And I think it actually hurts jiu-jitsu.
John has never been wrong on anything. Like he'll say something to me, and whether I don't agree with it or not, like 2-3 years later, I'm like, oh wow, he's right.
Except for his fashion tips.
Except for that. That's subjective. And so he's like, you're already making a ton of money. He's like, you're the greatest of all time. And he's like, and jiu-jitsu is just on the cusp of being a mainstream sport.
Yes.
He's like, if you leave now, it's just going to degenerate back until what it was, unless there's another star built, which doesn't seem like there is.
You fucked the game.
So he's like, there's no reason for you to move to MMA. He's like, you can just continue to do this, and you can retire with a legacy that no one will be able to be close to even touching. So I'm like,
He's right. No, he's right. He's 100% right. Now, there are guys in the sport, when we talk about, personalities, and there's some young guys coming up for sure. But, me and my team were talking about last night, a guy like Dillon Danis. He kind of rose to fame in the jiu-jitsu. I don't think a lot of people realize this, and you'll do a much better job educating the fans on this, but Dillon Danis, his kind of rise in jiu-jitsu came when he was a brown belt, correct? Like, he dominated as a brown belt, and then when he went to black belt, that's when, like, people think he was, like, undefeated as a black belt, like, absolutely. He wasn't. He's a phenomenal jiu-jitsu practitioner. Not compared to you, I'm not saying that, but in MMA world, in jiu-jitsu, what he did at brown belt was historic, man. Like, great run, right?
Yeah, he was one of the biggest prospects coming into black belt. He won, I don't know exactly what he won. He won a ton of tournaments at brown belt. And then going into black belt, he actually had a competitive match with me at ADCC 2017. And then I think he won Nogi Pans, double gold at black belt. So he was, at some point, he was pretty legitimate compared to the rest of the guys in the world. And then, he started training with Conor, and then from there, his athletic career kind of just fell off. And anyone's free to fact check this at bjjheroes.com. Dillon's competitive record at black belt is 18 wins and 16 losses.
Yeah.
So he started pretty strong through brown belt. He built up through brown belt, had a good run at brown belt, got to black belt, was always competitive with the best guys early in his career, but could never beat the best guys. And then after that, he started working with Conor, and he stopped training with Marcelo, and then he kind of just fell off from there.
And do you think that's because he wasn't all in on jiu-jitsu? Because once he went, towards a little bit MMA and working with Conor, like, if you're not all in, especially in jiu-jitsu at that black belt level, if you're not all in,
It's tough.
You can go 18 and 16.
It's tough. It's tough. And I think that coupled with the fact that he just parties way too much. I don't think he really trains consistently anymore.
But here's what's impressive. You tell me about this. I don't know how you feel about Dillon Danis. I actually like Dillon Danis. I don't agree with some of the stuff that he does and stuff like that. But as a human being, the interaction I've had with him, he's a good guy. He pays way too much attention to comments, and I think he's kind of lost track of what he really wants. And I think he's trying to find that and lashes out. But I think deep down, good person, just needs some direction. My thing with Dillon is, think about it. He hasn't competed. I don't know the last time he's competed. If you think about like top 10 names that are brought up in just combat sports in general, he has to be up there.
Yeah.
Like he's always put himself into like the KSI fight he's always staying relevant. Now I don't know how he makes money. I don't know how that works if you're not competing, but he's always relevant. There has to be something to it where it's like marking wise, like again, he's fallen out 2-3 fights now. And so it's getting a little bit tough for him, but we're just talking about how impressive it is, whether you like it or not, how he's always trending.
If there's one thing Dillon's an absolute master at, it's staying relevant without actually doing anything.
Yes.
So you gotta
appreciate the hustle.
If you can't give him credit for anything, you can at least give him credit for that. Like he stays relevant, whether he's fighting people, whether he's scheduling matches that he's not going to take.
It's
whatever you have to say about Dillon, he definitely does a great job. We're talking about it right now. He stays relevant. He stays relevant, but he doesn't actually do anything.
It's impressive.
So it's definitely
so impressive.
So and then he got into the fight with Khabib. I get like 500,000-600,000 followers overnight, and I'm just like, man, like he's not doing anything, but he's relevant. So you got to at least give him credit for that. And I like to troll him all the time.
But you don't have a real issue with him. The level you're at, you're not, because he hasn't competed in jiu-jitsu at that level you're at, so it doesn't really get you out of bed to compete against him. Is that even?
I think Dillon genuinely doesn't like me because when I attack him, it's just based off I post statistics and I talk about what's actually going on, so I know that it hurts him. Where he can't really say anything about me because I just win all the time.
Yeah, it's
so I think that he genuinely gets hurt when I attack him, so he doesn't actually like me. But I don't have a problem with him. I just think he's very good at doing the marketing side of things. But if you're very good at talking, and you don't actually compete and you can't win, then I just think you're a clown.
Yes.
Winning is the hard part. The marketing stuff is the easy part.
See, agree. I think I'll defend Dillon a little bit here, where it's all right, you got the marketing down, dude. You do have the skills to compete at a high level and can, whatever you want to do with it, whether it's coaching or whatever, get involved with the camp. So focus on that, man. Get away from all the social media hoopla and start focusing on that.
That's hard, though.
It's the hardest thing to do in the world.
Does he want to live that hard life?
Well, he's going to have to, because you can't just keep making these promises and then not showing up.
Well, the thing is, I think Dillon has a lot of family money. I could be wrong, because he doesn't teach, he doesn't compete. How can he generate revenue? He doesn't have sponsors.
Yeah.
He doesn't post on his Instagram. He doesn't post sponsors.
Isn't it amazing?
So the only way that I can see him having a stream of revenue is by having family money. Or he invested in Bitcoin in 2010 and now he's just a billionaire. There's no other way I can
maybe
possibly see
invest in Uber 10 years ago or some shit.
So
unless just don't know.
Unless it's one of those things, there's no way he can generate money because he doesn't fight, he doesn't teach, he doesn't have sponsors. So I don't know what he's doing, but
it's impressive.
He's definitely staying relevant somehow.
We're talking about him, but enough about Dillon Danis, man. We're talking to the GOAT here. This episode of Food Truck Diaries with Gordon Rind, the GOAT, is brought to you by, of course, the GOAT of supplements. I'm talking about Onnit. Onnit.com/Schaub. You save 10% off the best supplements, the best workout gear. I was just at their facility in Austin working my little tail off. They got everything popping there, Daddy. Go check out their gym. Get a gym membership. Get your thick ass in shape. There's no excuses. For those of you that can use a little turbo on your brain there, check out Alpha Brain, the #1 nootropic on the planet. They sell it at Walmart, but help your boy out. Go to onnit.com/Schaub. Save 10% off Alpha Brain. Now, I started with Alpha Brain, like the rest of you, like the common folk out there, and then I made the leap to Alpha Brain Black Label. It's more intense. It's for those do-gooders out there. Alpha Brain Black Label is the best nootropic on the frickin' planet. Supercharge your brain and start shooting out sentences you never thought were capable for you. All right? That's onnit.com/Schaub. 10% off the entire site, including Alpha Brain Black, protein, workout gear, streaming fitness, we got it all. Audit.com/Schaub, 10% off. If you've been a consumer of any show that I do, you know I only recommend products that I actually personally use. Whatever it's Rain, whether it's Rogue Nicotine, whatever it is, your boy's using it. And when it comes to Kratom, I trust only one company. I trust one company only. I use it personally every single day, no matter what show I'm doing. We're talking about Happy Hippo Kratom. That's Happy Hippo Kratom. HappyHippo.com. Use the promo code Thiccc23, Thick with 3 C's. That's THICCC 23. You save 20% off the entire lineup. Your boy uses the concentrated shots. That's right. I use their cherry shot. They have the new butterscotch shot, but you can get in gummies. You can get in powder. However you want to get your Kratom into your body. Happy Hippo has the best Kratom on the planet, so go ahead and get you some. All right, it's my limitless pill. I don't do a single thing without Kratom from Happy Hippo. Again, that's happyhippo.com. Promo code is thick, THICCC23. You save 20% off. Use that code as many times as you want. Share it with your friends, your aunt, your uncle, whoever you want. That's thick23. Happyhippo.com. Now let's wrap this show up. Let's get back to the program. I think what would be good for you, and you've mentioned it, is the Ultimate Fighter's coming back. Talking about Ultimate Fighter alumni, season 10, biggest season of all time, not a big deal. It's fallen off since then. It's it's on ESPN Plus, nobody's watching. But now you have Conor and Michael Chandler. And I've heard you mention, I don't know if it was the Ariel, whatever interview you did, where you'd like to be Ultimate Fighter coach. I think that would do so much good for you because you get so many eyeballs, and you're obviously a clearly good coach. You speak well, you look the fucking part. I don't know if Conor's using Dillon, but I know Chandler really well. I'll text his ass right now. So Chandler's my boy. I'll text him like, hey, if you don't use my boy Gordon, never call me again.
So I posted that, and I was like, man, how awesome would it be if they had like a spinoff where I was like Chandler's coach and Dillon was Conor's coach, and then they fought, and then we had a grappling match on Fight Pass. But I was like, that'd be tough because that would mean Dillon would actually have to show up and compete. So, in the event that you could actually get Dillon to fight me, it would make sense. But it doesn't make. I mean, I would help coach either one of them either way. But
you'd be down to do it.
But for sure, yeah, I'd have to just move around some competition schedules. But if you have the opportunity to coach with Chandler and McGregor on Ultimate Fighter, it's a big opportunity. So
and I don't know why
do.
either of them wouldn't use you. Like Conor appreciates like elite high level shit clearly, and then Mike Chandler's such a good person. I'm sure one of them's gonna be down for it. I'm telling you, we're gonna take a picture. I'm gonna send to Chandler. I'm like, dude, if you don't fucking hire him, I'm gonna freak the hell out. It makes sense.
Yeah.
I think you'll just add to the hype of the show because Ultimate Fighter, and I hate to see it. It's just hasn't been doing well. But having Conor and Chandler on there, and now it's not only it's not gonna be just behind ESPN Plus paywall. It's gonna be on regular ESPN. So the amount of views and like what you're doing for jiu-jitsu, like you have the greatest of all time doing the damn thing, and he's a coach on here, and they tell your story. I think it'd be great.
Yeah.
And all the kids on the show know who the hell you are. Then I know they're doing a part where I'm pretty sure they're bringing guys back that had a shot at the UFC. It didn't go well, so they're like a redemption story.
Okay, yeah. I remember watching that redemption one with Matt Serra on it when I was like 9 years old.
Yes. Yes. I'll end on some of this stuff because I know you get back to training. I can't tell you the anxiety I have watching you eat your food and how I'm praying to God it doesn't fuck up your day because you're never going to talk to me again.
My stomach's been okay. The fans are going to watch this and they're going to look at it and they're going to be like, I knew it. His stomach was never fucked up the whole time. He was lying the whole time.
That made this whole thing. Yeah, he's made this whole thing up. Yeah.
I'm doing a lot better. I ate a full cheeseburger and fries, double cheeseburger and fries. So
yeah,
I'm definitely doing a lot better.
God, I hope it goes well. I have the worst anxiety. Just going back to how I always find it interesting, like your journey to get to where you're at now, where you're considered the greatest to ever do it. Growing up in New Jersey, you didn't start jiu-jitsu till you're 15, right?
Yeah.
Did anybody see this coming? Like, were you a football player? Like, where's this come from? Because it's not like jiu-jitsu in Jersey. How long ago? When you were 15, you're 27 now. So it's not like it was this big, huge thing.
It wasn't. Yeah, so like, I've talked about this before. I got into an interest in fighting and grappling because our daycare teacher, who just played like high school basketball, never did any combat or anything. He used to watch UFC and listen to Rogan commentate moves. And he'd come into daycare and he'd be like, this is a Kimura, or like, this is a rear naked.
And how old are you?
Like 7, 8.
This guy's awesome.
And he's like, all right, now practice it. So we like practice
This guy's
submissions. And he was like, try to give us the breakdown of the submission based on Rogan's commentary. And we practice it, and then we all circle up and we have like King of the Hill where like we'd all wrestle, and the first person that gets submitted loses. The winner stays in, and the next person in line goes in. So we had like 2 kids watching the door to make sure the boss doesn't come.
This
and
is
then
awesome.
and have like a fight club inside the daycare. And so then I was like beating up my friends for years, just like, you know, grappling. Like,
And were you dominating that right away?
I would beat up my friends at daycare, yeah.
Yeah.
So then
You're just undefeated in this fucking schoolyard
So then,
fight club?
exactly. So then when I was like 15, I saw a sign for jiu-jitsu. I was shopping with my mom in the mall, in like a shopping mall. And I saw a big jiu-jitsu sign. And I was like, Mom, I want to start training. And so at the time, I started training under a guy, Haas, who owned this school. He was a brown belt under Ricardo Omeda at the time. And then I had my first coach was a blue belt. He was Miguel Benitez. And you know, I started training under those two. Miguel was like my main coach because Haas wasn't there a lot of times.
And you're 15 at this
I was
point.
15. And then, you know, I was training there for a couple years, and then I met Tom the Blast, and then I met Gary Tonin, and then I started training. Again, Gary took the school over, and then I started training with Gary full-time, and then Gary started going to the city. He met John, because he was helping Frankie Edgar with the camp.
Yeah.
And then I started going to the city with John, and then we kind of just moved on, and then eventually started training with John full-time when I was like 19 years old.
And there was just off to the race. Was there a time you knew you're just kind of this outlier?
So I was always, for like my age division and for like my belt level, I was always doing well. Like I was competing well. I was beating black belts as a blue belt. But I never really had any like international level success where I won like a big tournament until like I won Nogi Worlds at brown belt. And then the conference where I really knew that I was going to be one of the best guys was EBI 6, where I fought Yuri, who was the reigning ADCC champion at the time. I was like 185 pounds for that. Yuri was like 230, and I ended up strangling him in overtime. And then I fought Rustam right after that, who was the current ADCC bronze medalist, and I strangled him in overtime.
Jesus.
And I had just got my black belt, and I knew that I was like just getting started. I was like, I still suck at jiu-jitsu, but I just beat the current ADCC champion.
Here we go.
So I was like, okay, this is getting serious now. Like I can definitely hang with the best guys in the world. And then I had the match with Keenan, which was no time limit, and I submitted Keenan, and I was like, all right, like,
All right.
this is different now.
We're cooking, man.
So yeah.
But growing up, the sport of choice was what? You were just this crazy competitive kid? Like,
So I played like backyard football. I wrestled around with my friends. I did like a season or two, maybe, of wrestling camps when I was like little, but nothing really serious. I always tried to play football for a season. Wasn't really into it. So it was just really just like me like doing like backyard fights with my friends.
And were you were athletic?
I was always super athletic until I started doing jiu-jitsu. Because everything
different.
in normal athletics is like doing this, like big explosive movements. Everything in jiu-jitsu is like this.
Yes.
So the more I do jiu-jitsu, my ankles get popped. If I try to cut or play basketball now, I just roll my ankles.
Yeah.
Like I can't do anything athletic anymore, but I used to be athletic.
Yeah.
Now I'm just isometrically strong, and I can invert and I can bend my body in
you're
certain
built
ways.
for jiu-jitsu.
So I'm athletic in a different way, but not like standard. Like if you had me do like an NFL athletic test.
Yeah, if you're doing
I would
a
just,
40-yard dash.
Yeah, it would be atrocious. So,
But any person I know in jiu-jitsu doing it at a high level, they have the highest IQ I know. Jiu-jitsu is such a thinking man's game, especially the outliers. Like Henry Gracie, one of the smartest people I know.
Yeah.
Henzo, one of the smartest people I know. Ricardo Almeida, smart.
Padre, super smart.
Buchecha, smart dude. Like there's so many of these outliers. You were good in school? Like did you excel in school?
I was
You're
good.
clearly a smart fucking dude.
I was good at things that I was interested in.
Yes,
Like I'm like a totally 0 or 100 guy. So if I didn't care about it, I would just like completely neglect it.
Yes.
But if I was interested in it, then I could excel. So I was only really willing to put my time into things that I was actually interested in.
And you did well.
And yeah, and so I was always in love with MMA and specifically grappling because the first UFC I ever watched was a Hoist Gracie tribute. So it was like all the first UFCs of Hoist Gracie.
Where he's in the gi.
Yeah, of beating people up. Even though it was like, I don't know, 2004 or 5.
Yeah.
They were doing reruns of the early UFCs.
Yes.
And so I was like, man, jiu-jitsu's the best.
Yeah.
And so then...
You were like, have you seen it lately?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then, like, I had like an obsession with jiu-jitsu from an early age, and I watched that first UFC when I was 7 years old, and I just decided like that's what I'm gonna do when I get older.
That's so dope, man.
And so, then I started training jiu-jitsu because I wanted to fight MMA, and I just kept getting roped back into
Thank
jiu-jitsu.
God you did.
Like I want to win trials, I want to win ADCC,
Yeah.
then I want to win the absolute, now I want to win the super fight. It's like every time it's something else, and it ended up working
There you
out.
are. You're
So,
working out.
Yeah.
The greatest of all time. Your nickname's the King, for God's sake.
That was on purpose. After I won the EBI, it was the first time ever experiencing like shit talk. People were like, I'm like, man, how is everyone so miserable? So John gave us his whole speech like before that on how to like build a brand and what direction we want to take it. And I was scrolling through Instagram and I saw like George St. Pierre's comment section. George's like the nicest guy ever.
Ever.
And
Have you rolled with him?
oh yeah, all the time.
Great
yeah,
guy.
yeah. I've been
Oh, yeah,
training.
he's Dillon
yeah,
guy.
I've been
Yeah,
training
yeah.
with him for like 10 years.
Yeah, of course. Great guy.
So
Smart guy.
smart guy.
Very smart guy.
So I see his comment section, and it's like 90% hate comments. And I'm just like, if these people are going to hate on this guy, they're going to talk shit about anybody.
That's the other
So I'm like, I may as well just make as much money as I can and say whatever I want.
Yes.
I'm like, how can I piss people off the most? I'm like, King Ryan, that's it. So I started to call myself King
Dude,
Ryan.
I love it.
And everyone's like, man, fuck that guy. And I was like, yes.
Yes, I'm doing it right. I'm doing it right. And when you told your family that you were gonna do jiu-jitsu full time, not go to college and all that,
So-
they were on board.
So my dad was skeptical but behind it. My mom told me that the only way I could keep doing jiu-jitsu was if I also went to college. So she's like, you gotta get a real job. So I was like, okay, whatever. So right out of high school, I worked 40 hours a week at DPW, just throwing grass bags in the back of a truck. And then I would train at nighttime and on the weekends. And then I would go to college part-time
Where at?
at Brookdale, at community college. So I would do like 2 to 3 days a week, I think, at community college. And then I did that for like 2 semesters. And then I won the EBI in 2016. And like that year, because my mom was like, how are you going to make money? So in that year, I made like $100,000.
And probably 50 of it off the EBI, right?
It was 25
Okay.
because I only had 2 submissions in regulation.
Gotcha.
So it was possible 50, but I made 25.
25.
And I'm like, Mom, I'm just starting my career. I made more money than you this year. Can I just stop fucking going to college?
I made more money than you.
I'm like,
What are we doing?
can I just stop going to college? She's like, yeah, fine.
Like,
So then after the EBI, I had made more money on that night than I was making. I was making like $2,000 a month at DPW. So I made more money in that night than I made working a full year at DPW. And I was like, man, I'm rich.
Yeah, I'm balling.
So
I'm rich.
so I was like, Mom, can I please like just stop going to college and just dedicate myself to this? And I finally convinced her. She's like, yeah, sure. So then she was fully on board. And then like a year or two later, I convinced her to let like Nicky drop out of high school at like 14.
Yeah.
And he started training full time with John. And then after that, they were kind of all in and they were behind it.
Smart parents, man.
Yeah.
I want to end on this. So I was watching the Flow Sports released a kind of like a embedded on you. It shows you waking up and your girl's there and she cooked your food and you're eating, and then you talk about how you drive a Toyota. Is it Corolla?
Corolla.
And you're like, because I need suffering Monday through Friday.
Yes.
Now I'm a big car guy. I'm a gearhead, and I saw the cars that you have in the garage. You said, whatever the weekends are for testosterone, like
Yes.
and you have, what do you have, like a C5, C6 Corvette, and then you have a GTR.
No, so I have a 2022 Miata Club Edition, which is hers. She drives that around. So the
cool.
the RF version. It's got like a whole bunch of stuff. I'm actually giving that away. It's lower. It has suspension, everything. It's all done up.
Love it.
I have my dad's '86 C4 Corvette.
Saw that white.
Yeah, the white one with the Greenwood body kit that he would always like to talk about, and the black rag top. So he's had that since '87. It's got like 60,000
Can't
miles
sell
on it.
that.
Yeah, all original. No, I'm keeping that
can't sell
forever.
that.
And then I bought him before he died.
I'm sorry,
The
I
car
didn't
that he,
know that.
that's okay.
I'm sorry, man.
I bought him the car that he wanted, which was a 2017 CTSV Cadillac.
Oh, those are sick.
Yeah, I love those. And then I have the TRX, which I have today because I couldn't come to this podcast driving a Corolla.
No, that would have hurt my feelings.
So I felt embarrassed, so I was like, I gotta take the TRX.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And then I have a 2-door Jeep, which is on the way, which is going to replace her Miata when we give that away. And then after this Penna match, because Penna's making me so much money after I beat him up again, there's a 1,500 horsepower Calvo Viper in
I
Florida,
heard you mention that.
which
Now
I'm
you're
really,
talking,
which I'm
Daddy.
really considering buying.
Do it. Fucking
So
do it.
I
dude.
drove in one of those things, and the one that I was in was 1,900 wheel horsepower, so it's a lot faster.
It's dangerous.
no matter however I can try to explain it to you, it won't do it justice. It's like, first of all, the car feels all-wheel drive. There's like no traction issues whatsoever.
Yes.
And it's
Is it stick?
yeah, it's a 6-speed sequential. So it's like you just go forwards and backwards.
Oh man.
But the one that I want runs 1,300 horsepower on pump gas on 93 with a regular 6-speed.
Oh, I love it.
And I want to like buy it and like make it like the Batmobile, like matte black everything. So
And it's based out of Florida?
he's in Florida right now. There's an old guy who owns it in Florida. I'm gonna go and check it out after.
And how much are we talking about for this thing?
He's asking, I think, 175 for it. So
And what year is it?
2017.
Yeah, I love Vipers, man.
So
They're talking my business.
yeah.
dude.
So my Felipe Pena check will pay for that. So I should just have Flo make the check out to this guy that I'm gonna buy the
Just
Viper
make out
from.
you're getting it.
And then so I can thank Felipe for the.
Please send me the link to that car when we get out of here.
I will.
I'd love to see it.
I'll send you pictures. So
Please do.
It's actually Calvo's friend. He doesn't have it listed anywhere. He just sent me pictures. He's like, man, I'm 83 years old. He's like, I don't drive it anymore. It's got 800 miles on it. It's like
Jesus
brand new.
Christ.
They
Yeah.
built it in 2017 when it had 7 miles, and the guy only drove it 800 miles. So now I'm just like, man, I'm gonna go to Florida, hopefully buy it, and then drive it back to
Drive it
Austin.
back, yeah.
Drive back to Austin. Hopefully,
You
probably end up
deserve
in
it, man.
jail.
You deserve it. I hope the license plate is just like King Ryan. That'd be sick.
So Penna's thing is, he has this terrible joke where he calls me chubby baby. So
You're not chubby.
don't even get started. So because like gordo in like Spanish means chubby, or in Portuguese
Okay.
means chubby, so he just calls me like chubby baby. It's like just a terrible joke.
Sure, yeah.
So Sonny actually got me a license plate that says Texas, and then it says chubby baby on it.
I love it.
So if I buy the
I
Viper,
love it.
I'm gonna have the Viper. The post is gonna be thanking Felipe, and it's gonna be a license plate that says chubby baby on the back of the
Dude,
Viper.
I love it. I fucking love it. Well, on this show, I'm a sneakerhead, super sneakerhead guy. And you're a tricky one because, I saw the Toyota Corolla. I'm like, oh, man, I can't get like some crazy shoes. Originally, I team up with my guys at Suplex in Philly. And they sent the Jordan 11s, and they had gold on because King Ryan, like, he's the best. Let's send these from the GOAT to the GOAT. And I was like, I feel like it's a little flashy for him. And so I had my guys reach out. I'm like, ask him what he wears, though, because I want him to wear them. And, you mentioned you wear some Chucks, stuff like that. I want to get you the off-white Chucks. I can't just give you a regular fucking.
Okay.
I couldn't just come out and give you, like, a Converse. She'd be like, oh, thanks for the $40 Chucks, Schaub. So these, it's a Kith collab with Converse. They're super rare to find.
Okay.
If this one might pay for maybe a month worth of gas on that new Viper.
Okay.
But it's the Kith Coca-Cola collab. They're super rare. Coca-Cola, I drink Diet Coke. I don't know, you can't mess with it, but they're dope.
She makes me drink Coke Zero if I'm gonna drink it.
Ah,
Thank
there you
so
go.
much.
So those are for you, my man. There's some rare Kith Chuck collabs.
This,
Comes a little
this
bit
one's
of
for you, Coca-Cola.
Yep.
Even with a
Even with a
Coca-Cola.
bottle. The packaging is no joke from Kith. But those are a rare shoe for a rare breed, man.
That's awesome.
And
Thank you so
you're,
much, dude.
You're the GOAT, dude. And I appreciate you doing this, brother. And please send me the link to that Viper. 'Cause if you don't get it, and I probably will. Or I'm
So-
going to get one similar.
I was-
That's how this goes.
I was
When I
talking
hear
to
about
Rogan.
it,
I was talking to Rogan.
dude, if you're going to buy something, don't call Rogan. Because he'll convince you to buy it.
Oh no, I was trying to convince him to buy one. We hung out with him. He was like doing a show at Vulcan, and I got drunk, and I just taken the Viper, or just went for a ride in the Viper 2 days before. I'm like, dude, I'm telling you, I'm like, because he has the Plaid. I'm like, going from the Plaid to the Viper is like going from a Miata to the Plaid.
100%.
It's like so mind-blowingly fast. I'm like, Calbo's here. I'm like, just take a ride in one. I'm like, I promise you'll buy it. He's like, yeah, that's the problem. He's like, I can't buy any more fucking cars. Like, I have too many cars. I'm like, you never have too many cars, man.
Never.
I'm like,
Never. Sit with him. I was at, I'm a big Ferrari, Porsche guy, and I was at Ferrari, and I get allocated cars, and they have an SF90 Spider, and they're super rare. And the guy's like, yeah, the allocation ends today. And so I'm there, I'm talking to Rogan, I was like, yeah, it's the highest car I'd ever have to pay for. And he's like, wait, what is it? I'm like, SF90 Spider. He's like, man, I'd love an all black one. I'm like, really? He's like, yeah. Can the guy do it? I'm like, I'm here with the Ferrari guy. So I'm like, hold on, let me talk to him. I talked to him. He's like, we have one allocation left. And I was like, hey, they can do it. He's like, I'll take it. And just there. And he's like, you get one too? I'm like, yeah, dude, I'm the one who gave you the idea. And the next thing I know, we're both getting fucking.
I was talking to him about this. He's like, man, I just ordered a new Ferrari. It's supposed to be faster than the Plaid. And I don't really know that much about Ferraris because I'm not ready to spend the $500,000 on a car. But I'm like, okay. I'm like, well, which one is it? He's like, oh man, I forget.
Yeah, he
I'm
doesn't
like,
know.
I'm like, you just ordered a Ferrari.
I sold him on it. No,
I'm
I
like,
sold
you
him
just
on
ordered
it.
a Ferrari and you don't know what kind it
Yeah.
is. I'm like, that's how you know you're too rich.
That's when you know you're
I'm
balling.
Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
man, I'm like, how do you just buy a Ferrari? You don't know what model it is.
Because I was stressed out. I was like, I don't know, dude. I call him like, all right, you're right. Let's get him. Yeah, it's ridiculous, man. But get that Viper. You've earned it,
That's
dude.
why the Viper's perfect because it's like 200 grand, but it's 1,300 horsepower. So it's like
See, that's
it's,
what
hard,
I
it's
love.
hard to beat.
Yeah, I'd rather have that. Like, I like it.
And it's American muscle car. Like
Yes,
it's like
brother.
perfect on brand.
Yes, I love it, man. Well, you're gonna get that Viper. Maybe I should bring my GT2 RS down there. I think that's the only car that can maybe keep up with your Viper.
much power
I'll beat
does
you
that
on the
make?
track. I have it tuned, which is insane. Nobody tunes GT RSs. I have it tuned. It's right around 1,000 horsepower.
Oh, wow.
This thing's a savage, dude. Savage. You would love it.
I would love it.
Yeah,
Anything
so-
fast I like.
Yeah, me too. But I can't thank you enough, man. You're the
Thank
greatest to
you,
ever
guys.
do it, brother.
Thank you.
You're the best. Appreciate you doing this, brother.
you, yeah.
The king, pound for pound, go. Gordon Ryan.